So hi all, I'm Vijay Jethani. I'm Cloud Solution Architect at Microsoft. So for today's session, we are going to cover DevOps for NoSQL databases. So coming to the agenda, we first of all have to see why exactly we need DevOps at first place. And then we will go through how DevOps can help for that. Like what are the equipments you can say or the tools, processes we have, which helps us to implement that in a better way. Now, before we go ahead with any of NoSQL related implementations, we also should know what is available out of box for us. So we will be knowing all the SQL APIs which we have at this point of time. Similarly, when we have to make decisions on which to select when, we should also know what are the decision criteria around that or the rationals behind saying. Now, obviously, as we are dealing with the database, we will have some native tools, how we actually work with the databases, how do we manage them and all those things. So that is the reason we also have the native tools. Then finally, we will work through the demo. So those are the agenda for today's session. And then after the end of the session, there are session takeaways, as I said, like you will have the recordings of this call along with what are the tools you can use and all those things. I will be providing the links for that. And also you'll be obviously going through the demo and seeing that how we actually implement them. So we are having a deep dive call next week from 30th, and that will be 1:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. So that there we will cover the more hands-on labs. Okay, so that will be doing on the NoSQL databases. So for today's session, just concentrate on the concepts, why we need a NoSQL, or I would say why we need DevOps for NoSQL databases. Okay, so let's get started. So this applies to all databases, irrespective of NoSQL or SQL. We know obviously the database life cycles. So with the upgrades and migrations we do in and out, there has to be the life cycle management of the databases. So that is the first thing what we have to make sure that while we work with our applications, the database or middleware tier is also equally important for us to include our solution implementations, or I would say automation for those solutions. Now we have seen that DBAs work in and out on these kind of tasks. Okay, so they do a lot of repetitive work. That means they already know that, and this is the procedure at a scheduled maintenance. They have to do those kind of work. So that is where we can, with the help of DevOps, we can have an automation workflow in place, which can save that time for DBAs. Also, if you are working on deep databases or any of the database related tools, you obviously need to know the basic of those tools, right? So that will be anyway required. But then say suppose if you are automating something, then in that case you will not be required a person who execute those scripts or automation, that he should know all those things before. Okay, so that is where you also saved the time of the skilled resource, as well as anyone who knows and have an execute permissions can execute those at runtime or during maintenance. The other thing about is release processes. Obviously, we have a lot of manual processes where we require approvals. So with the help of the workflows, we can also get that reviewed at appropriate times and have an escalation matrix in place to get that approved on time. The important aspect also is on the security, because most of the times we work on the management machines, which are like completely open for all admins to do any number of things, implementations or anything from the management perspective. So with the help of DevOps, we can actually bring in the hardening, which is that means it only allows what is required for you to do that particular job. Okay. And obviously, finally, the business continuity and DR. So that works at, I think, for every one of us, that we need to have appropriate backups. Also, we should be able to restore complete environment within a no time, or I would say in respective SLAs. So that is what is the need, I would say, for DevOps for any of the databases or any of the solutions which you implement. Now we understood why we need a DevOps, but how exactly the DevOps does that? Let's see in the next slide. So with the DevOps, you have APIs, which actually does these tasks on behalf of you. Okay. Similarly, as workflows are triggered by the changes, you can also control them during the maintenance or any of the repetitive work you do. So we don't need DBAs at all times. Also on security part, as I already said, if you are using cloud as your environment, then obviously the machines are already security hardened. That means you are not able to install anything on fly. Also, that will be a kind of a secure environment for you to execute that. If it has worked and it has all the specifics, then that will be stored as a code. So that is the advantage you get using the DevOps. The other thing is we work around n number of environments, right from actually planning till we bring anything on the POC, then moving towards the development testing and towards pre-production and production. So it can be n number of variations depending upon what kind of the environment you have for that particular customer. So in that case also you can just clone them and store them as a persistence workflow. That means only when required you will actually do those changes. At all times this particular environment is in secure and at running in the way you want it to run and without any manual intervention. Okay, so approvals, as I said, again, we have the task based on how you actually get those approved in time. So we can have those approvers during the scheduled maintenance, or we can also have the workflows which detects whether your previous task was successful and then accordingly move towards the next task. Finally, as you're working with the databases, you know the stored procedures, you have the database scripts. So what to run, what not to run, everything can be automated with the specific conditions. So that is what is meant by stored procedures or database scripts, which is now stored as a code. So we will actually access them and then see that at appropriate time when we have to run that, whether it is kind of a pre-script or whether it is a post-script or what kind of the solution blueprint we want to get that implemented. So these are the two things which applies to all databases, why you need a DevOps at first place for database and how DevOps help you. Now let's dive deeper into what the SQL APIs, or I would say NoSQL APIs, we have in today's session. So these are the few SQL APIs which you will come across. Now let me brief you about each one of them, about their structure. SQL API is based on the SQL queries which you run on the document store or any of the JSON documents kind of thing. So kind of, I would say these all APIs runs on a semi-structured data. Okay, that means as the name itself says NoSQL, that means it does not have structure or a specific fixed structure in comparison to what we had previously with the SQL APIs. Okay, so NoSQL applies to the semi-structured databases which will follow these particular APIs. Okay, so SQL API is for SQL queries, which you can run on the document store and the different type of databases which you will run within that. Similarly, MongoDB. This particular API was developed as an open source and works in an open source world more than anything else. Okay, so the way it has been built up, you have the JavaScript queries kind of thing, or JavaScript, I would say, which actually has all the SDKs required for you to actually get any data, or I would say query or insert, update, whatever the database operations you do on any particular database, which is MongoDB. Requires that. Okay, so this is the API developed for the MongoDB. Cassandra again is you can say a column wide database or similar to the NoSQL, again semi-structured data. This is mainly used on the again the NoSQL structure obviously, but this is mainly used for the analytics part. So however, as these NoSQL APIs, they are built up keeping something in mind, right? Obviously, you have to have something in mind why you actually require those kind of APIs. So that is where depending upon what your source was and how you're actually migrating or using your next particular middleware in your particular solution blueprint decides based upon what was your source and what is to be your final destination. Okay, so depending upon that, you have to choose this particular API. Similarly, if I want to find out, like in our case, e-commerce website, we have a lot of products which we buy. Like simple example is our mobile, right? Mobile phone. With the mobile phone, obviously we buy the mobile case cover as well. So that is kind of a relation you can set with a Germlin API, which provides you the okay, this is what was purchased, but what all was purchased along with that is given by this particular API. So this is kind of a graph API, which knows the relationship of that object or what that object is and what is related to that object. So those kind of things you can get with the help of this Germlin API. The last is table API. This is something to do with Azure storage, table storage, which you can say. This is again the semi-structure. That means you have the rows and columns, but the columns may vary depending upon what kind of the data you are storing. So again, all of these APIs are on the semi-structured data. So depending upon your needs, I think we will come to know what exactly which API you will choose over another while we move ahead. Now, the one database which fits well for all of these APIs is your Cosmos DB. Hence, we will go a bit deeper into why we actually doing that. And first layer, I think you can see is whatever the APIs we are talked about, all are available within the Cosmos DB, and you can have implementations in your solution blueprint. The other thing is what kind of data, semi-structured data you have. That is whether you have key value, like in case of your devices, you always have key value pairs. Similarly, the column family, as I said, for Cassandra and any of the column family databases, you can use this particular column family as the API for that, or I would say the data structure for that. Okay. Similarly, the document DB, it can be JSON, whatever the documents you are querying through, or what kind of NoSQL structure data you are keeping, that is available with this kind of data. The other is graph. Obviously, as I said, Germlin API is where you will see the relationship between these data structure. Okay, so if I have to give you more information, if you see these dots, these are kind of vertexes, and something which joins this is called actually the what to say relationship between them. Okay, so that is how basically we come to know. Okay, along with this particular object, what is the relevant object for that. So that is where we will use a graph based APIs or a Germlin API for that particular database. The other important thing from the customer end is how should I choose a consistency level, like whether I need a strong consistency or whether I need an eventual consistency, or I would need something in between that. So to talk on that, I would just want to give you brief about that consistency. Nothing means how your read follows your writes. Okay, so that means if I write something, whether that write is available immediately or it is available after some time. So that is mean by the consistency level. So whether the read exactly follows writes or it is out of at or maybe some lag. So that is what we define the consistency in Cosmos DB. So with the strong consistency, I want that every read is only that every recent write should be available for read. So that takes some time for that to reflect if you are obviously using the multi-region database. So that is where we mean by the strong consistency. Similarly, going the other way around, completely extreme towards eventual, that gives you irrespective of whether the write has actually been committed on your production or that particular environment, it gives you the read of what was available to that database, that is called eventual. Now let's come to the other consistency level. The one is towards there is a lag, right? So obviously there is an session level and there is also the consistent prefix level. And towards the stronger, we also have one more which is called the bounded staleness consistency level. So I think I could dive more deeper into that, but I would say just go through that particular documentation for Cosmos DB consistency level, so you understand which to select for what specific when you actually implementing the Cosmos DB APIs. Okay, so basically, in short, it is how the write, based on what you write, the reads are available to you. Okay, so how fast you can read that data is as simple as from the consistency level. Now, from the decision making, I think let's see when to use which NoSQL APIs. Okay, so like while I use a specific use cases, like I'm starting freshly with that project. So what should I use? So recommended is you use directly the SQL Core API, because you are able to query that using normal SQL queries around whatever the semi-structured data you have in that particular database. But what if I'm actually having a lot of the data, or I would have some legacy applications so integrated to the API level, or I would say the SDKs itself, what I use application is so close to that I need those particular APIs. Then in that case, go with the respective API levels. That means if you are using MongoDB, use MongoDB. If you are using Cassandra, use Cassandra. And in case of table, I think it purely depends upon the data, because when you actually store the data in table storage, it charges you based on the the size of data you store rather than the amount of the query you do to that particular Azure table storage. Okay, so if you have terabytes of data, so in that case, if you want to retain that for the time being, considering that application is not so complex that it requires any other querying on top of that, then you go with the Azure table as it is. Finally, Germlin, as I said, this is the only one I would say from the relation perspective where you can actually have the nodes and the vertex, which we say from the relationship perspective, right? You know the relationship exactly of what is going on with that particular from the graph perspective, or what is the relationship between the other object which you would buy in case of the commercial sites. So this is how we relate to the other semi-structured data based on the APIs. And all other scenarios, I think here will mean basically for depending upon you don't know or you are not sure on any particular structure and you are starting fresh or migrating to any the new particular greenfield implementation or kind of a brownfield implementation where you see that the data is not that much, and then you can really go without these APIs in place, then go ahead with that with a little effort of actually importing those particular data towards the databases. Okay, so this is applies for the all other scenarios. So I will just pause here so that you can actually see that, and also the previous screen if required. So let me go back to that as well before we move ahead. So this is the NoSQL APIs which you will be using for your middleware databases for the NoSQL APIs. Similarly, the one fit for this is your Cosmos DB. That's the reason I've been talking about this, which provides you all the APIs along with the semi-structured data, and depending upon how you are storing in a single region or whether you are storing in a multiple region and what kind of SLA is required. So you will choose that consistency level accordingly. Okay, so that is from the basic of these. Okay, now what next we have? Now, obviously, as I said that for Cosmos DB as a workload, you will require similar to other database tools, you require the DB tools as well here as well, right? So first thing is an obviously emulator, which you can directly go and actually deploy this locally. Try to implement this structure or I would say a Cosmos DB along with your application locally without actually hosting it publicly on the cloud. So you can do that with the help of Azure Cosmos DB emulator. Okay, so that means you have the code locally running with some kind of ID you are comfortable with, or the design solution you are implemented, and then you integrate that with a relevant API. That is what is meant by the this particular emulator. Similarly, if you are using any tool like Visual Studio Code, you will require the extension for that. So that is where it is asking you that if you really want to work with the visual from the Visual Studio Code for Cosmos DB, just install this particular extension. Okay, and obviously if you are working on Azure Storage Explorer, then you have to download that and install that for any of the uploads which you want to do on the cloud. Now this is more on the tools you are using and how you are using them, right? But the below ones are giving you more specific information about how do you actually migrate from a specific APIs to another API for to be state, right? Which you need like kind of a MongoDB, Cassandra, or even I would say if you are also importing some kind of data you already have on your machine or some kind of the development environment. So it gives you a step-by-step procedure with the help of this migration guide. Also, there is a data migration tool. I think if you're already working on the data states, I think you already know this tool. But for someone new to this particular tool or using this for the first time, you can actually import the JSON, CSV, and n number of SQL structures or a data in any shape and format with the help of this particular data migration tool. Okay, so you can actually import that and make that available. The way I shown you in other scenarios, this also applies to this. Irrespective of where I have some kind of export available to me. So in that case, I will just go ahead and do the data migration import into my future state, which is on the SQL API. So that is what I can take help from this tool at that point of time. Again, this bulk executor library again applies to the data states, like how you want to have these APIs interact, or also which specific APIs are available through that bulk import kind of work you want to do. So these basically tools give you the actual know-how of what is going on inside without thinking much on what you do on your local machine, right? So this is the cloud-based tool which are available out of box for you to work on Cosmos DB as a database. So again, I will pause here for a while until you go through each of them. So I can. You can also search them on net. I can also provide you the links at the end of this particular session. So again, I'm repeating, this is for a semi-structured data. Okay, so remember the 4 different types which we are talked about: key value pairs, your document store, the graph, and the other one was on the like how you import and export to that. Okay, so those all particular or column wide I can say. Okay, so those are the specific data structure types for semi-structured. Okay, so this is how like we covered why DevOps and how DevOps can help, knowing the SQL APIs and when to use which APIs along with the native tools. Now let's look at the demo of how this automation and what other things you will need before you can implement these kind of the database environment. So what I have is an Azure DevOps environment. So I've just implemented this project. using Express as an application and Cosmos DB as my database. Okay. Also, this is one of the labs which we are going to do next week. Okay. So first of all, let me show you what I have from the database as a code. Okay. First of all, I have the application artifacts, which is nothing but how this particular Express application is working, all the configs and what kind of data connection I'm having. All those things are stored in this particular repository. Okay, so this is from an application perspective, or I would say the web base along with the how I interact with my database. So that is stored in this particular repository, which is on Azure DevOps. Everything, any particular file, irrespective of script or whatever changes I can store here as a from the update perspective. The other thing is how do I make that environment available to you? So for that, I have the ARM template, which is nothing but the JSON document. This JSON document provides or asks me respective parameters to which I actually provide how I want to implement those resources along with what I need for those resources. Okay, so I do have the respective website implementations. Similarly, the app service, the application insight environment, and then document DB. Okay, so and finally, I'm just giving the output to the getting the connection string for that particular database so that I can use that for connecting to my website, which will be implemented on Azure. So this is how I'm actually using these templates as a code in my source repository. There are also few of things which I can do on functional testing and unit testing. I think which we can talk more once we do actual labs. Okay, so this is what I can show you like as a code. This is what is stored as of now. How do I implement that from DevOps is using the pipelines. I think this is exactly the same procedure. Only thing is depending upon what you are implementing, the workflow changes. Okay, so let me show you this particular workflow of having this demo with Express and Cosmos DB. First of all, as you have seen, I'm using the node. Okay, and Express is the node in related application. Okay, or I would say the architecture. Then on based on that particular, I'm having the that installing that application dependencies. And archiving is because I need dependencies to be stored, and that is the reason I'm having this archiving that particular application build available to me. Similarly, I'm having the copy of that ARM template which I want to be build on, because between the stages while I do the from the build to the release, I want to store them as an artifact. Okay, so I'm just publishing this to a specific folder which is drop. So ideally what I'm doing here is I'm just having the dependency built on and then archiving and copying the relevant artifacts, which will help me to implement those particular environment. Okay, so that is what I am having as part of this build. Now, once this build finishes, I need to implement this on Azure. So I'm doing this with help of my release pipeline. So the way we have stored everything in the drop, so I'm referring here that particular artifact. And then from this artifact, I'm actually doing the installation using those templates which I've already stored as artifact. And finally, I'm also getting the connection string. After my implementation is done, that means my website and the Cosmos DB database is ready. Then I'm pulling out that connection string for that particular website to integrate with this particular database, and finally deploying that. So now I have each and everything from the website as well as the data tier till here. And then while you deploy this as a code, which you have seen, which I was storing as an build artifact. So application.zip will give exactly the same whatever is available from an application perspective for that to do the runtime implementation for this particular Express with the database. Okay, that means Cosmos DB here. So let's see this implementation. So let me run this pipeline to show you this demo. and meanwhile also show you what exactly this means from the resource group. So this is how the resource group is. Okay, so you have APIs, application insight, app service plan, and app service. This will be implemented while you actually do that. Okay, so let me run this particular. So you can trigger by any changes to the any particular files, or you can run this manually. In our case, as it's just the demo, I'm just showing you running it using the manually. So the way we have seen in our previous sessions as well, it first of all fetches our repository and brings that on Azure, and then provides the relevant artifacts depending upon how we are using them in workflow. Okay, so once that is available to you now here, application is available in the zip format, so that it will use as a artifacts for deployment during our release cycle. So if you see it, it goes and does the release for that as well. So let it finish. I believe it's waiting for finish. Yeah, it has triggered now the new release, which will be using this artifact which we just built from the build stage. So while we do this as a hands-on lab, I think you will see everything or actually get to know about each and every file which you are using in your code for these implementations. Also here I'm using the MongoDB API, and the website is used to count the number of hits I do on that the Express application. Okay, so while we actually get this ready, uh, after this release pipeline, you will see that website is actually tracking the hits on that particular website using Cosmos DB. So that is nothing but kind of a key value pair, for which you are using the MongoDB as the API. So each and every specific from the database or database related file, I think you can check once we implement this hands-on next week. So this task is actually implementing whatever the ARM template I have shown you. Now it got the connection string, which is to be replaced on while we do the implementation on app service. That means app service should know how to connect to that Cosmos DB database. That is the reason we got that connection string at runtime and then fetching that in while we deploy to the app service. So if you see, we are using MS Deploy for getting that source package, that is a zip file as a web package, and we are deploying to this particular website and having a specific what we say the from the deployment perspective, we call the service control manager. So we are deploying, and then now each and every file is getting pushed along with your node and the MongoDB APIs. So everything now will be, because we will require some kind of SDKs to connect to that. That is the reason complete code is getting pushed along with those particular core modules. See package.json, whatever we have seen in our repository, those all things are coming here. Now it is doing the MongoDB core or APIs, you can say, or SDK. And there are the few, as I said, you can also have the test cases. So I've also kept that as a part of our repository. So we'll show you the unit test while we actually do the hands-on labs next week. Okay, so let us wait for it to finish. Okay. So now this is the application which we have deployed. If you have to go to that app service, you can go and check that. First of all, if it has any issues, I think it will throw out the errors. And if it is able to fetch the data in and out, that means most of the time this should be good to go in. So let me try to browse this particular website. And at first instance, if you're running it for first time, I think it can take some time because Express as a engine itself takes some time. So it will load after subsequent hits. Okay, so as I've kept the database already, you can see the visits it already has of 23 hits, but I think you can keep on refreshing that. So now see it has gone to 24. So I'm using this as a key value pair and MongoDB as an API to track that. But this is just, since as I said, this is just a simple example to track that. You can use your own use case as well from the document store or any other particular APIs which I have seen through, or even the consumer website where you do the product related catalog information and how the respective component or object relates to the other. In manufacturing industry, I think while they assemble the parts, you always one part is related to another part. Those all things can be get the Joomla API. Similarly, if you are using the commerce website for shopping, then again that product can be related to the other product. So those all things you can play around with on the on NoSQL APIs. The other thing which I want to show you on the tools, let me come to the tools. Okay, so this is the website gotcosmos.com tools. Okay, so this is the website you can go to for the Azure Cosmos DB tools. Emulator, as I say, if you want to learn more on that, how it works and all those things along with the installation, I think gives you pretty much good documentation on that and what you can do, what you cannot do. That means at this point of time, Explorer, which you see in the Azure is supports only the SQL API clients only, and the rest all are still not supported. But from the implementation perspective on your local machine, things should work fine. Okay, so these are the few of the things you should know with this kind of documentation. Other important thing which I want to show you is how do you do the migrations, right? So it gives you the documentation from basically NoSQL, how we actually migrate to this particular NoSQL structure. Okay, so you can go through this documentation and see the step-by-step instruction and which kind of the database tool you want to use and what path you will follow and all those things. Okay, so similarly is about the database migration tool, right? Data migration tool, like how do you actually migrate your data and what kind of the semi-structured data you have, whether you have a file or in which shape and format you have the data, and how do you migrate to respective APIs. Okay, also list the prerequisites which you require and then accordingly do the import of that on the Cosmos DB. Last is on your bulk executor library. So this again, as a this is only applies to SQL API. It does not like we at this point of time, as I said, the bulk and even the emulator works on the similar technology. That is the reason I think it shows exactly the same APIs which it is supporting at this point of time. Just gives you how it actually imports those particular or what kind of the semi-structured data it works on. So I think this is pretty much from the concepts and the demo perspective for today's session. While we connect next week for hands-on lab, I can show you even more use cases where you will actually implement them. Okay, and access those respective code on the Azure DevOps as well as the GitHub repository. So we will have the examples from both way, Azure DevOps as well as the GitHub. But for today's session, I think that's all we have in this particular agenda, what we have for the NoSQL database.